So I'm here today with Caspar Craven. Caspar, how are you?
Oh, fabulous, thank you. Great to be here with you.
Lovely to have you here with me. It's great to see you. Okay, so here's my question. Like, kind of before we get on to the big bold goals, you've sailed around the world twice. What was harder, racing or family?
Which one was harder?
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
my
one was
goodness.
more nervous?
Oh my goodness. Family by a massive margin.
Was it?
So it's
More responsibility.
yeah, it's like anyone who's been through lockdown, right, with kids knows what homeschooling is like.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're sailing a boat and homeschooling as well, and trying to keep relationships all on track at the same time. So racing's dead easy by comparison. So
At what point did you realise that actually I need to do this for my family now?
at what point did it?
How did that?
How did that whole story come about?
Yeah.
All right, so basically, I'll take you back in time a little bit. So 2009, running a small business. Business was failing, relationship, home life was failing. And my wife and I said, let's create a more exciting story of the future. And we sat down for about 3 months and really listened to each other for the first time about what were the things that excited both of us, that engaged and interested both of us. And over that 3-month period, we shaped this fresh story, which is crazy because we didn't have the money. We didn't have a boat. My wife couldn't sail. So lots of good reasons why it shouldn't have happened. But it was just sort of, okay, well, let's paint a picture that's fundamentally different from where we are today.
And were you conscious of, kind of in terms of if your wife, complete tangent, your wife never sailed before, were you conscious about the dynamic of the relationship, if this is where it came from in terms of you then presumably had to take the lead on everything?
Yes, so it's really interesting. So it's fascinating for me insight into teamwork in itself. Like, so marriage, teamwork within a marriage. I mean, it's just like it goes right there, doesn't it? And we developed this saying, actually, if it was down to my wife, it would never get started. If it was down to me, it would never get finished. So therefore, that gives you a bit of insight into our personalities. But it was that whole journey of sort of, if I'd said, let's go and do this sailing, she would have gone, no, I don't want to. But it was only because we really started to listen to each other, created a little bit of magic in that listening process. And then Nicola, my wife, was actually the one who said, well, why don't we get a boat and go sailing around the Mediterranean? And it all kind of grew arms and legs from there. So that was kind of where it started from. So I don't believe you can coerce people. So therefore, people have to go willingly for their own reasons, which I guess is probably one of my big insights. People do things for their reasons, not for your reasons. So.
That's true. That's so true. Was that it for her when she came back? And for you, was that it? Have you done your adventuring?
No, just starting.
For her? Was everything she wanted?
It was. So we spent a lot of time thinking about both of our reasons why, and our reason whys were different. For Nicola, she just wanted to set herself the goal and go and achieve that. She wanted to go and circumnavigate, even though she got seasick, even though she hadn't sailed before. All the sort of the reasons why it was challenging. And for me, my reason was going to create magical, life-changing experiences. And so we did that. And I think all it's done is plant the seed now for more adventures. So we're planning some more ones at the moment, actually. So
amazing. I love that. So that's kind of onto more mundane businesses. But one of the interesting things for me, you talking about leadership. You talking about goals, I think. And I was going to ask you about, okay, what makes a great leader or anything like that. But almost taking the example of you and your wife, like summing up traits of leaders, is that hard to do? And actually different people come at different types of leaders.
Yeah, so look, I mean, there's all different types of leadership, isn't there? So it's, but I think, what are the fundamentals? And I think that in my journey, I actually learned far more about leadership at home than I did at work. Why do I say that? I think at work, so I I trained as an accountant and investment banker in the 90s. It was a very numbers-driven environment. And honestly, I never felt particularly safe at work, and psychologically safe is the phrase these days.
Yes.
So I never really pushed myself and got out of my comfort zone to really learn those skills necessary. I did that at home. Once I became a better leader at home, then I took those skills back into the workplace and I became the best leader in the workplace. But I think, what are some of the fundamentals, right? And it goes back to that thing, people need to do things for their reasons, not for your reasons. So I think you have to listen so carefully to what's motivating each person. We're all motivated by different things. We're all human beings. We all have emotions. There's the neuroscientist, Anthony Damasio, who says, we're not thinking creatures who feel, we're feeling creatures who think.
Okay.
And once you understand, actually, that we're all driven by a set of emotions, well, how do you get a team moving in a particular direction together? Well, it's understanding what is it that engages every person, how can you find what each person is incredible at, and how do you bring more of that out? So
what interests me, I love that, but one of the things that interests me when you're talking about that is you come from a world of accountancy, where there's kind of an age-old profession, kind of with a hierarchy, with clear kind of pathways, etc., etc. Even in the 30 seconds you spoke about leadership there, you're turning around to an industry, asking it to turn itself on its head to some extent.
Yes.
Can that be done? Does it need to be done?
So it's really interesting. So it's funny. I'm doing a lot of work at the moment with a big oil and gas company, and probably the most numbers-driven organisation you could ever meet. But they have recognised, I think, like many other organisations are, that it's all about putting people first. And this is a realization I came to in my first yacht race when we literally crashed our boat because we put numbers first rather than people first. And it became really glaringly obvious to me that that is the right way to do it. But I see this huge shift in organizations saying, actually, it's people who drive the numbers. We need to put people first. Not every organization is there, of course. My fear for those ones who put numbers first and people second is that it's going to be tough times for them, especially in a world where clients and talent is more mobile than ever. I think they're migrating towards organizations who've got really clear purpose. They're doing something that's meaningful and where people feel valued, understood, appreciated, and they can play to their strengths.
Has the pandemic just accelerated the trend?
100%. I mean, I think the pandemic has shone a light on that whole balance between work life and home life. And one of my notions is we're all building two teams, a home team and a work team, and it's exactly the same set of skills. We need to thrive in both of those areas. So it doesn't really matter where you develop the skills, but develop them in either place and then use them in both places. But I think the pandemic has shone a light on the fact that if we don't take care of our home teams, then we run the risk of running into trouble. So
I buy 100% into the whole home life and work life thing, and actually the same skills. Do you? But is that the consensus, or are people still learning that? And
it's a great question. Look, candidly, the types of organisations who are all going to be numbers first, they're not going to book me because I speak to the thing about really taking care of people and looking after people. But I do see, say, this shift towards more organisations who are thinking like that. So,
and are they sustained? Again, one of the trends we're seeing is obviously with the climate out there, businesses are focusing now on the climate and maybe shifting away their focus from the individuals just because they've obviously got concerns about whether we're going to recession or where we are with the whole thing. Is there a danger of companies almost reverting back to maybe what you would perceive as the dark days? Or
so I think it's interesting actually what you made me think of there. I did some work with the senior leadership team from a metals company, a steel company earlier this year. Here you traditionally think, that's quite a hard numbers driven type thing. But they're focusing on the triple bottom line, people, planet and profits. And it's like, actually, and the COO who booked me there, he doesn't just talk that. It's not just words. They really, really live that. And you could see that being in the room with everyone, that actually all those three things are really, really important. So I think that there's an inexorable shift in this direction.
And do you think that's possible? You were speaking to the leadership team there. Is it a top-down approach, or does it come from when you talk about people, planet and
people, planet, profits.
So people and planet. Is that from the top down, or is that from?
So it's funny. I think about my own home life, and my 16-year-old son is giving me a hard time about not doing the recycling properly and all those sorts of things. So I think there's definitely a bottom up shift on that. But I think like so many changes, these things do come top down. But I think the raising awareness, the conversations that are bubbling away, and this comes back to that whole thing about leadership, about listening and understanding what's really important to your people, what's really important to your team. So I think it is top down, but I think the voices inside organisations saying actually these things really matter to us. Ignore those at your peril, I would say.
You come across, and you are very positive about what we should need to be doing. Do you translate that in a broader business environment? Do you think we're on a good trend upwards, or?
That's a great question. I'm a natural optimist, so therefore, and I think that optimism creates optimism as well.
You've sailed around the world twice. You've got to be optimistic.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's one of the next books I'm writing is all about mindset at the moment. And it's all about, well, you can look at a situation and you can tell me everything's wrong with this, but okay, well, let's flip that around. Everything that's wrong with it, well, that's your to-do list. Okay, how are we going to knock those things off? What are the challenges we're going to go and tackle?
Yeah.
So look, generally, I'm optimistic. I think there's a lot of challenges in the world, but, it's people who are going to solve this, isn't it? People who are working together, people who are listening, people who are really understanding. So, I'm optimistic.
Caspar, thanks so much for your time today. It's been lovely speaking.
Yeah, pleasure.